Good afternoon, class. We are going to talk about language arts now. I am so excited for this week because we are focusing a lot on Disney songs. And if you know anything about me, I love Disney movies. I love Disney songs. They're basically like musicals, but really fun for kids too. So that's why I'm super pumped. We're going to talk about a lot of different things that we've been talking about all year. So hopefully this will be a fun review of all the stuff that we've talked about all year long. So let's get started. So we finished Wonder, and we are going to be doing Out of My Mind now as our read aloud after this. Now, some of you already did Out of My Mind as a read aloud. As a book club, which is fine. For those of you, I'm going to explain my expectations both for people who've already done Out of My Mind as a book club and people who have not done Out of My Mind at all and never read it before. So you, in your language arts notebook, last week we finished with Rewrite the Stars. So if you turn the page, you will notice a giant Out of My Mind notebook cover page. This is just to help you keep track of where this is. I recommend putting a sticky note here or dog-earing the page like this so that you can come back to it later. So turn the page. This beginning reflection is what we're doing right now. So if you have already done this book club and you've already done this page, your writing is probably improved from when you've done this before. And so I want you to try to improve your writing, try to improve your paragraph, try to improve what you have, try to elaborate more, write essentially a final draft of a lot of these things. So, okay, imagine that you were born unable to talk or move, but you can still think and hear as you do now. What would your life be like? What would be the most difficult part of losing your ability to talk or move? How would people think about you or treat you differently? So, for those of you who have not done this book club before and have your book at home, make sure that you're writing a full, complete paragraph about how your life would be different. Those of you who have not done this book club before and do not have your book at home, make sure you write that on a spare sheet of paper because you still see that question projected for you. And then for those of you who do or do not have your notebook for those of you who have done this book before and have your book at home, make sure you elaborate and you write an even better reflection than you did the first time. And for those of you who have already done this book club and do not have your book at home, you need to redo it on a spare sheet of paper. Sorry, make sure you bring your stuff with you. So that is the first part. I am in the next video going to read aloud chapters 1 and 2. You need to answer these 4 questions as I read along or on your own. So chapter 1 says, how does Melody feel about words? What skills and abilities does Melody have? How does she describe how other people view her? And respond to the quote on page 8. Everybody uses words to express themselves except me. And I bet most people don't even realize the real power of words, but I do. Thoughts need words. Words need a voice. As you know, I love words, so I love that quote. So make sure you're listening to that read aloud video and you're also filling it in on this page. So this essentially is our work for today for read aloud. Okay? If you've already done this book club when we're doing the comprehension questions, I want you to try to extend. I know a lot of times we were writing really short, choppy answers. Make sure you write in full sentences, you check that grammar, you just elevate your answers. Okay. So that's our read aloud. We're going to be doing that every single day. Now we're going to talk about Let It Go. Don't worry, I'm not going to sing it. So the first thing I want you to do is go back and re-listen to Let It Go. Now, I know you might know all the words and you might be like, Mrs. Benavides, I do not need to listen to Let It Go. My younger sister, blah, 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 has listened to it 4 million times. Okay, so the book I have in front of me right here is not numbered for language arts, so this might be a little tricky to find. You are going to want to find the Disney section in your Ultimate Language book. So you want to go past this part. You want to go all the way past all of the book club stuff. Okay? / read aloud stuff. Okay, we're still there. We're past boy, past knots in my yo-yo string. We're keeping on going. Oh, I'm getting there. Oh. We're still there. Aha! So this page that has a giant snowflake in it, just to show you this is how close I am to the end, so it might be easier to work backwards. We're living in a less than ideal world, so I'm sorry I cannot be more specific than that, but this is where you should be in your ultimate language book. Okay, so you'll notice that you have the lyrics on the left side of the page, and then you have a bunch of activities that go with that set of lyrics. So what I want you to do is go pause this video, go listen to the Let It Go song, following along with your finger. I want you to do what we usually do with the Musical Mania. I want you to highlight any words that you don't know in the song, and you might be surprised that there are words that you actually don't know in Let It Go. And then I also want you to circle or highlight or underline or glitter it up, I don't care, anything that you find to be a good example of word choice. I still want us to notice some of those great examples of word choice as we read. This is also going to be important because on the worksheet I gave you for today, there is a vocabulary activity. So if you're noticing those good examples of word choice, if you're noticing those words you don't know now, it will really help you when we're doing that activity in just a second. So, the first thing we're doing is how does the imagery or explanations of the setting change as the song takes place? So Elsa is quite clearly a dynamic character. And what that means is that she changes a lot throughout the movie, throughout the story, but she also changes a lot in this song, right? She starts off kind of cold and sad, and then at the end, it's like, let it go, you know? So that's how it's kind of changing. So I want you to kind of come up with 3 different examples of how that setting, how that imagery is changing. I'm going to give you one example that I find right away, and you can add on 2 more. So for example, the snow glows white on the mount tonight, not a footprint to be seen. That is very different. So that would be my beginning quote, because that's showing me that it's like a really cold, isolating feeling, you know? And then at the end, she says, let the storm rage on, the cold never bothered me anyway. So it's kind of like she's going from being upset about the storm, not liking the storm, to in the end, being really accepting of the storm, let the storm rage on, the cold never bothered me anyway, right? Author's purpose. So this page has a picture of Olaf on it. And again, watching Frozen is not a prerequisite for doing this activity. If you have watched it, great. If you haven't, then don't worry about it. We're really only focusing on Let It Go. We're not focusing on the whole story. What do you think the author wants to convey to the audience with this song? Write what the words in this song mean to the singer and are meant to you in the space provided. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how I would answer this question, and then I want you to be writing this on your own. So for me, so obviously the author is telling a story to entertain, right? That's the first, remember our pie, persuade, inform, entertain. Those are the 3 reasons that authors mainly write. So this author is first and foremost writing a song to entertain and using the beautiful voice of Idina Menzel to do it. He or she is telling the story of Elsa, right? How Elsa went from being this trapped figure, basically unable to see her family, unable to do a whole lot, becoming queen, and then realizing that she's going to embrace her power. So that first goal of the author is to entertain. The second goal of the author, I would argue, is to persuade people to think differently about themselves. And I know a lot of my friends, you know, some of my friends contact me when this song first came out because Idina Menzel has been one of my favorite singers of all time for way before Frozen. And they were like, you gotta listen to this song. You gotta listen to this song. And I was like, are you kidding me? It's whatever. So anyways, I was very skeptical of this song at first when it first came out, and then I remember listening to it, and this is kind of what it meant to me when I first listened to it the first time. I was having a really difficult year that year, and it was kind of like a way of accepting that these things are difficult, but I'm strong and I can get through them. And I think that's kind of what Elsa is experiencing when she's singing this song. She's saying, I'm going to accept myself for who I am. I don't care what other people think. And I'm strong enough to deal with this storm. Let the cold rage on, let the storm rage on. The cold never bothered me anyway. And that, I think, is a really good explanation of one of the author's key points is accept yourself. It's trying to persuade people to accept themselves, to accept what's different about them, to accept the horrible things that are happening. Let the storm rage on. the cold never bothered me anyway. And I hope that that is kind of how you feel as you listen to this, especially with the coronavirus going around and COVID-19. It can feel like that storm is impossible to handle, that this storm is going to ruin our lives and control our lives forever. And I think having this attitude of Elsa, let it bring it on. I've got this. I'm going to be prepared for middle school despite the challenges that face me. I'm going to do my best. Okay, so write about what that song means to you, any personal connections you have, it as long as the author's purpose in writing this. So this is my favorite one. So this one, you need to change the setting, write a paragraph, song, or poem with the same story, but this time, Elsa is the desert queen. So imagine maybe that this story took place in Egypt or Saudi Arabia or something like that, instead of in Norway, in a very snowy landscape. So example, the sand shines bright across the desert tonight, not a footprint to be seen, a kingdom of wind and sunshine, and it looks like I'm the queen. So that's one example. I continued it in the song, but you could also write, like, hello, I'm Elsa. I'm in Saudi Arabia, and I have these powers to move sand, whatever it is that you feel is the best format for you writing this story. All right, the next one is analogies. So remember, analogies are about trying to find how words are related. Start by figuring out how the word pairs are related. So for example, hot and cold are opposites. So for that first section there of analogies, all you're doing is figuring out how those words are related. So let's do the first two together. Then I want you to do the next two by yourself. So white is to black. These, I would say, are opposites, right? Light and dark, white and black. Snow and mountains. On, I would say, is the key thing, right? Snow is on mountains. So we're just finding a connection for those first four. Then the next section... Oh, and here's the answer. So opposites located on, synonyms are similar, higher up than. So that's kind of how they're related. That's a good skill to practice when talking about analogies. Now circle the missing word in the analogies below. If the first pair of words are opposites, then the next pair must also be opposites. So for example, cold is to hot as day is to... The answer is night because cold and hot are opposites. So therefore, day and night must also be opposites. We're going to do number 5 together. Then I want you to pause. I want you to come back to this video. I want you to check your remaining answers and see how you're doing. So number 5, white is to black. So we've already said white and black are opposites. Notice how it's using the same 4 analogies that you used on top. So use that information to help you answer. White and black are opposites. Anger is to what? So which of these is the opposite of anger? Is it sadness? Probably not. Loneliness? Probably not. Happiness? Yeah. Personality? No. So the answer here is happiness. So pause this video and come back when you are ready to go through the answers. Okay, so now I'm assuming that you've answered this and you're ready for the answers. So the first one is C, happiness. 6 is A, sand. 7 is B, stop. And 8 is master, A. Continuing on, so we actually have this final comprehension question set. This should look very familiar because this is exactly like all of our musical mania that we've been doing all year long. Make sure you pause this video. I'm going to go zoom in just in case you don't have this paper at home and you want to follow along. So in the first stanza, the word isolation most accurately means A, with extensive company, B, in the middle of winter, C, completely alone, or D, on top of a mountain. Number 2, which question is best answered by the lyrics in this song? A, how does the main character feel about finally being able to be herself? B, what magical powers does the character have? C, what is the setting of the story? And D, what type of climate is the main character prefer? Number 3, when the character says, let the storm rage on, the cold never bothered me anyway, which of the following phrases best summarizes what she is saying? A, my life is wonderful now, I'm so happy I went through this change. B, I cannot believe that I've been sent away, what am I going to do? C, I'm facing something difficult, but I'm not afraid. I'm going to face this challenge. D, winter is my favorite season. I'm glad that summer is over. Number 4, which of the following choices below is the setting of the song? A, Elsa the girl who is singing. B, the snow-covered mountaintop. C, the feeling of freedom expressed by the character. Or D, the series of events that happen in the story. Number 5, stanzas 1, 2, and 3 are different from the rest of the song, but they are important to the meaning because A, it shows the initial sadness felt by Elsa the singer because she's alone and unable to cope with everything else. It shows initial happiness felt by Elsa C, it sets a humorous tone, or D, it introduces the main character. And I only have 4 seconds left, so I'm going to show the answer key.